Welcome to the first WOAMTEC Live of 2012. On today's show, we're going to have child psychologist Dr. Mary Travis, author and speaker Harriet Porton, and Monica Arcos with Math Monkey. And now, here's your host, Kathleen Hawkins.
Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. I am so excited to be here today. We have got a fabulous show. For anybody out there that has children, share it now on Facebook and tell people to log in live and watch us, because we're not only giving away some amazing prizes, but we just have a fabulous performance scheduled for you today where we're going to educate you, motivate you, and hopefully empower you to have a wonderful new year. I first want to introduce you to someone that's very special to me, and she's just a stellar individual. She's been on The Doctor. She's done skincare and makeup for all sorts of fabulous people, and I just wanted to introduce her because as we're starting the new year and we're creating New Year's resolutions and new goals for 2012, I thought it would be fun to share just one hot tip, let's say a makeover tip from Marcella. So first, please give me a warm welcome and big round of applause for Marcella with Untitled Beauty. We're turning it over to you.
I know.
I'm
not used to this. I'm usually behind the cameras, but
well, we're putting you on stage. You know,
yes.
I figured you did such a great job on my makeup today, and I just love working with you. You've helped me out tremendously with my skincare, and I just wanted to first tell them a little bit about you and about your company, and then give us a makeover minute tip, you know, for the new year that we can use.
Sure, absolutely. So my company is Untitled Beauty, and we specialize in events and brides for their big wedding day and their wedding parties. And I also work in television production. It's something I'm looking forward to getting back into. So that's pretty much, I run the gamut, pretty much.
Tell us who are some of the fun people that you've made over? Who are the celebrities that you've worked with, other than me, of course?
Other than you. Well, I will say that a regular client of mine was Allie Larder.
Very cool, very cool.
Yes.
And what's the most fun tip that you can share with us for the new year?
Well, one that I liked, because I personally like to wear darker lip colors during the winter. Every now and then I like to mix it up. And what we find is that, you know, the lips, the color can sort of bleed, feather, and also fade, which is a big problem for me because I lick my lips a lot. So I have a fun little tip, which is very easy, 2 steps only. The first one is that you will put your foundation, before you do anything, you put foundation over your lips. You let that set for a second. That's going to help the lipstick adhere to something, and it's also going to create a neutral palette so that your true color of the lipstick shows through a little bit better. Then you're going to take a nude lip liner. You want to keep it to the color of the lips, because colored lip liner is a little bit out of style. It's passe, a little bit 80s. So you want to keep to your natural lip tone. A good one is on allmadeupbeauty.com. It's called Nude Lip Crayon, and that's going to work for pretty much everybody. And what you do is you want to line your lips, which is going to create a seal for the lipstick, and fill it in slightly, and then you do your lip color, and that's it.
That is awesome. So give me that website one more time and the lip color.
It's allmadeupbeauty.com, and the lip color is the Nude Lip Crayon.
That is awesome. Well, I am so excited. Thank you so much for
making
you look beautiful and fabulous.
It's easy.
Thank you. And for everything that you do. You're just amazing, and I look forward to seeing all the great works that you have as you continue to expand your movie production and television career. So
exactly.
That is awesome.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to you. I appreciate it.
Too.
Well, we have so many fabulous things that are going on right now. The first thing that I think most of our members have learned is that you have the ability of having logging in as a new member benefit to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn via the member directory. So I think it's really important to take a moment and log into the WOAMTEC website, add your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn accounts, and begin socializing with people all across America. Think so much bigger than just your chapters. Really focus on growing and connecting and building relationships nationwide. You know, I think that it's really important to mention that as you continue to grow and as you build your business and work for reaching your goals, I think it's really important to take into consideration that you're connecting with people on a personal level, on an interpersonal level. Don't just sell to people, really connect with people, develop those skills and develop the bond that can make that happen. You know, one of the things that I think is really important, and it's so fun to see as relationships are blossoming across the nation. People from Jacksonville, Tony Tate is in the house, by the way. Give him a big round of applause. Which is fun. watching people proceed from Jacksonville and connect with people in Tampa and connect with people in Orlando and Georgia. We are going to Georgia soon, which is super exciting. We are going to be going to Georgia for our Georgia Social and Executive Roundtable discussion, the 26th and the 27th. So check out the WOAMTEC website if you haven't already done that. You also want to take into consideration that as you continue to grow and we can continue, I can't talk right now. We continue to connect with you. We want to come to your area soon too. So C. Rivas, who is your webmaster host, give her a big round of applause, please, is there to chat with you today. And what I wanted to share is that you can let her know if you want us to come to your community or a community near you. Now I want to introduce a magnificent individual. Dr. Mary Travis is here with us today to just kind of give us some pointers in the new year to help us connect with our children, to help us develop deeper and stronger bonds and relationships with those that we love the most in our life, to identify whether or not there are some obstacles or challenges that we may need to address with our family and with our children. So please welcome Dr. Mary Travis as we connect with you and learn more about you today. Mary, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So tell us a little bit about who are you and tell us about your practice.
Oh, I'd be happy to. I'm a teacher at heart, and I came through teaching to school psychology, and now my practice is in Winter Park, and I do school psychology, human development, with great emphasis on positive psychology, the optimism and the strength that exist in all of us.
Okay, well, talk to me about that. How would you define positive psychology?
Positive psychology is not just positive thinking. It is an adjunct to traditional psychology and really stresses the strengths of the individual and uses those strengths to make children and parents and all of us aware of the strengths that we have to address any challenges that we might have. It kind of turns doesn't take the place of traditional psychology because you still need those tried and true techniques. You still need the diagnoses. But this uses a bit of optimism, a bit of personal responsibility, autonomy, and is a very empowering adjunct to traditional psychology.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit more because I know that we've discussed it. I have 3 children who were all adopted, and we've got different things that we have to deal with each one of them uniquely. But what are some, when you go into a school and when you're working with children on a school level or a school basis, what are some of the things that you look for? What are some of the signs that you might need some additional counseling or help?
Well, I think the person who first sees that there is a need for additional help is the classroom teacher, because the teacher is the person who spends a great deal of time with a child and will see if somebody is connecting with not only the material that's being introduced, but whether they're connecting with their peer group, and whether they are able to take advantage of the opportunities in the classroom. And the teacher sometimes will pick that up almost immediately, and then they will let the parents know, and that's when the parents would come to someone like myself. I work on Lee Road in Winter Park, and so I'm not actually in the school. So if the schools don't have the possibly the resources or the manpower because of budget cuts, then they would refer to someone such as myself, and the parents come, and I work then with the classroom teacher, with the school, with the parents, and then the child.
I think that's so important
Very
because
exciting.
With my 10-year-old, for example, who has been diagnosed with ADHD, and it's interesting because it was her kindergarten teacher that started red flagging things in the very beginning. So you're right, it was school where they were able to pick up and not maybe see it like a parent might through rose-colored glasses because your child is just perfect. And I know that there's been a lot of controversy about ADHD, and a lot of people are diagnosed. And a lot of people I've heard even said no medication, focus on how they eat. They're, gluten-free diets or, whatever you're giving them. What is your take? Like, what do you do with a child that may be diagnosed with ADHD?
Well, I can do the diagnosis. I can do maybe a little further diagnosis using a continuous performance test or something more than was possibly done in the schools. Fortunately, I'm not able to prescribe medication, and I'm very glad that I am not able to do that. generally what will happen if I feel that there is a reason that a child is not responding at all, they may need the medication so that they're able to access the strategies and access their own ability to focus. But I generally will say, you know, wait with the medication, and if the other things aren't working, let's not rule out medication. It's a wonderful tool. And then put people on it, but never by itself. They should always be learning strategies and getting something in their bag of tricks, their own tool bag, so that when they go off the medication, or as they get older and the medication stops working for them, they've got something. They've got a fallback. They're able to do it themselves. They've learned that.
So what are some of the things that you teach with positive psychology? Like talk to me about what methods do you use, or how do you, it's so frustrating, and as a parent that doesn't understand why, you know, teaching someone, as we're going to learn in just a little bit from Monica, teaching someone something like math and not understanding why they don't understand it. I mean, I have like memories of my father screaming at me because I didn't understand certain things. It could be so much more challenging or so much more difficult if you're dealing with a child that may have ADHD. So how do you handle that? What are some of the tools or the tricks or the methods of positive psychology that you use?
Well, that's a good question. One of the things that you do is actually look at the strengths, because ADHD is not only bad. It is also a very good thing to have in certain situations. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of energy, a lot of kind of out-of-the-box thinking that goes with that. And so what you want to emphasize, especially to a child, is that you've got a lot going for you. And so we would do something like a brief strengths test. And we'd say, you know, you are very creative, you're really a flexible thinker, you're a very loyal person, and you're really able to kind of hang in there, which in some settings is stubbornness. But what we want to do is help you use those so that you can fit in with the kids you're going to school with, so that you can learn to get along with Mrs. Johnson or whoever it is, and so that you can kind of key into when you're really off track and bring yourself back. And you can learn to do that because look at all these strengths that you've got. And you also teach the children to be very optimistic about themselves and their abilities. One thing that positive psychology has discovered using research, the same kind of research methods that we have used to identify the bipolar and depression. That's what we use to look at the strengths that people have. And one thing that we know is that optimism is a construct. Optimism is something that can be taught. And if you have optimism, your mental health is going to be better, and so is your physical health. And that is proven through research. And it's so good to be able to just lay that out, especially for parents, because we're a society that loves numbers, and we love research, and we love that it's been studied.
Absolutely.
And when you can say, look, this has been studied, and this is true, and we can teach your child how to do this, we can teach you to be more optimistic about your child. That's going to make the whole thing better.
That absolutely, and you know, that really does change what you think about, you bring about to an entirely new level, because
Exactly.
it's important. And rather than pointing out all of the things that they're doing wrong, teaching them how to focus on their strengths, I think is a tip that any mother or any father should share, should learn how to implement with their child, which is very important.
Exactly, and then you're not going to be dragging them kicking and screaming to counseling because they think there's something the matter with them. They're going to learn how to work with what they've got in order to make their life better. Just kind of like sharpen the saw, like Stephen Covey says.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Travis, you mentioned, we talked about ADHD because, of course, that's something that I know very close and work with. But what are some of the other disorders or specialties or areas, I'm not sure what to call it, that you specialize in, that you treat, that you work with?
Well, with evaluations, I will evaluate for gifted, and gifted kids have their own sensitivities and challenges that comes with that. And then there are specific learning disabilities, and if you catch those early, you can really turn a child's life around. even if you catch them like in middle school, and are able to identify things and help children move along and get those things fixed.
Okay, can we talk about that for just a minute?
Sure.
Other than waiting for a teacher to bring something to your attention, which is a good way, and that's how I was educated or informed, what are some other symptoms or signs or warning signals that might flag, hey, your child might have this other learning disability or something? Like, what should we be looking for?
Oh, that's a good question. Some of the big learning disabilities are central auditory processing. Those are the children that don't seem to really hear what you say, or they don't seem to get it right, or they never seem to be listening to you.
I bet we have a few women that can relate to that.
Right. And then memory problems, working memory problems. And one of the hallmarks of a learning disability is that they know it. They know it the night before, they know it in the car on the way to school, and they take the test, and you would think they never saw it before in their life. And they don't understand what happened. And it's called the leaky bucket syndrome.
Wow.
And so it goes in, it's learned, but it's not overlearned. And so when they get faced with the exam or the evaluation and they're a little bit nervous, it just goes whoosh, and it's gone. And that's a sign. If you have a child who's working, but they're in school and it seems like they don't do anything, you know, that would be definitely a sign, because you know how hard they're working at home and they're going to school, and they're not getting any what you call bang for their buck.
Right. Well, now I know a lot of parents that may get frustrated. I love the fact that you said if they just don't seem like they're listening to you, or they are frustrated because they don't feel like it doesn't seem like they're learning, it doesn't seem like they're grasping. So whenever you see that disconnect, I think that a lot of parents out there might feel compelled to, like, okay, Dr. Travis, fix my child. You know, here she is, I'm dropping her off, I'll come back in an hour. How important is it to get the whole family involved in this sort of therapy and training?
I think it's very important. I do, because everybody has a different perspective on what's going on. And especially with a learning disability, because learning disabilities don't show up all across the board. These are children that have an average or high average IQ, and they may be just doing great things in reading, but they can't do their math. Or they do great in math, but they can't understand what they read. So they're more likely to be labeled by one or both of the parents as just being very lazy, very stubborn. They can do it if they want to. And it causes a great deal of fighting and problems.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I have a feeling when you use words like lazy and stubborn, it might not be as effective as you're really creative.
It doesn't make them very optimistic.
Absolutely.
Right. And another sign of a learning disability, too, is when you've got somebody who is just fighting you on homework constantly. They've got to get a drink of water, they won't sit down to do it, they're sitting there but they're not getting anything done, and it's all of this arguing that goes around school that then gives the child a very bad idea about school and about themselves as a learner, and that's probably more damaging than the actual processing problem.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I did want to ask and address one other thing. You had mentioned before the show started, you had mentioned that you work with people, what did you say about picking their nails or something? Because that shocks me.
Yes.
And that's not so much like something that you would see from a learning perspective, but what are those kind of symptoms?
I'm glad you asked. I got into that because I was working with children who were victims of bullies, and I happened to have some of them who had actually pulled out big, huge patches of their hair. And so from working with them, I got involved with the Trichotillomania Learning Center. And this is a disorder. It's compulsive hair pulling. It's called trichotillomania. The compulsive skin picking is called dermatilia. And I have got to tell you, this is the best practice niche you could ever have, because the families are so high functioning. The children and adults that I work with are just very committed, very generally very highly intelligent. The difficulties that they're having, anxiety, perfectionism, the very stubborn trichotillomania comes on between the ages of 9 and 14 and generally affects the gifted young woman or the gifted young man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a wonderful, what a wonderful group to work with.
Now, are there any educational people that you follow? Like, are there any good books that you just love to share with parents that you work with? Or, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot with this one, but is there any kind of, if someone has, let's take ADHD, very common. Is there any kind of book that you would recommend, or author that you would recommend, or websites or anything like that that you might want to share with us?
Right. I think that there's a whole series called Corey Stories, which is about attention deficit and is really good for the younger kids because Corey gets into a lot of trouble. And it's kind of a comic strip format. And that's a really good one for kids. And then I have with middle school, I have an attention deficit workbook that I use. I'm trying to, my attention deficit person, of course the name escapes me, but I can tell you I'm a positive psychology person. Right. I didn't pay attention. Psychology. That would be anything by Martin Seligman. His latest book is called Flourishing. Very good for adults to read, but for the kids he wrote something called Learned Optimism, and it talks about raising children who are very optimistic about themselves and about life, and about how do you get an optimistic child? How do you teach that kind of life view? And it can be taught.
I think that's awesome. And you know what's great is if as you're doing this, if you're teaching your children how to be more optimistic, those are positive affirmations that you're saying to yourself too. So it really allows you the opportunity to look at the world in a different light and to kind of just learn how to think. You know, in 2012, the world is it can be whatever you want it to be. You can make everything happen, and you just have to believe in yourself and know that all things are possible.
Right, and positive psychology is different from positive thinking in that it is more talking about effective thinking. And optimistic thinking is very effective because what you think upon grows. So as we sit here and talk about being optimistic and talk about encouraging one another, growing businesses and connecting with people, that comes into our life and it grows in our lives. And it's great.
That is awesome.
Well, I'm so glad to be here.
Well, and we're so glad you are here. And we're so glad you're part of WOAMTEC too, which is super exciting. Now, did you have a prize to give away today?
I do. And actually I have two. And this can go, yes, either for an adult who might want to come in and take the brief strengths test and do a little consultation, maybe somebody who's just starting a business or is really going back to school for the first time, something like that. Or you can also use it if you have a child and you want to bring your child in and have me take a look at some of those things that go with attention deficit, their problem-solving ability, their flexible thinking, their ability to get started and actually finish a project. And so if you want to use it for a child, you can do that. You get the assessment and the consultation. You want to use it for yourself, that's fine with me. You get the assessment and the consultation.
That is awesome. And I know your question is, what can optimism protect you from? So if anybody can answer that question, I know that you did mention it.
I did.
So what can optimism protect you from? And the first person that responds, or two people that responds to that question, so the first two people that respond to that question will qualify for that prize, which is super exciting. So thank you.
Yes,
it was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
I wish you
pleasure.
An amazing and prosperous 2012, and I look forward to seeing how many people you help. Now, before you go, I know you mentioned 2 books, but what you didn't mention is your website. So if somebody wants to connect with you personally, do you have access to your website?
I do. It is www.travisps, so it's TRAVIS, P as in psychological, S as in services, traviscycleeducation.com. But I also would love for you to go to Travis Psychoeducational Services on Facebook and like me, because I would like a lot more likes.
And if you haven't yet, Dr. Travis, if you haven't gone to the WOAMTEC directory, what chapter are you in?
Downtown.
Okay, before you leave here today, if you haven't set up your Facebook profile in the WOAMTEC directory, we need to do that. I have a feeling Mr. Tate might be able to help you get that done. And what we will do is make sure that they can go to WOAMTEC.com, visit the Downtown Orlando chapter, find Dr. Travis, or do a search for Travis, Dr. Travis, and like her straight through the Facebook page to make it easy to find you and connect with you and start that positive relationship. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
It was such a pleasure. And, you know, we're going to have so much fun, and we're going to announce the winner of that prize. We're going to announce that on our WOAMTEC Facebook page. So rather than announcing it live, we're going to actually announce it on the WOAMTEC Facebook page. Again, I mentioned several new member benefits. I mentioned the Georgia Social coming to an area near you. We've got all sorts of amazing things that are happening in 2012, and so many new exciting things happening on the WOAMTEC website. So if you have not logged into the WOAMTEC website recently, I encourage you to do so. If you have not visited us or joined us on the WOAMTEC group page, I encourage you to do that too. And if you have any ideas, suggestions, business needs that you might want to share with me, our doors are always open and our ears are always listening, that we want to connect with you and help make those things happen. First, I want to give a shout out to some of my amazing WOAMTEC divas, brothers and sisters throughout the country. Barbara Stein, Marlon King, Rhonda Smith, Carol Weathersby. Rue, a new director, is online, so that is exciting. Yes! Carol is going to be launching a chapter soon in the Plant City, Lakeland area. She's searching for a location, which is exciting. Coach Kat is on the phone. Nancy is launching the Winter Park chapter. Relaunch is next week. So if you haven't logged in and visited her chapter to find out where it's at, support her launch and come on down. For those of you that are outside of the state of Florida, jump in your car, drive down to Orlando, and schedule a visit. Come by the corporate office. Marilyn Mathers from Tallahassee actually stopped by and visited our corporate office the other day, and it was so good to see her. So we do want to connect with you. We do want to visit with you, and we encourage you to continue connecting with each other. We also have Carmen Luciano and her fabulous daughter Angelina on the phone. So I wanted to say thank you, thank you. Carmen is launching our first bilingual WOAMTEC chapter, which is launching in the next 2 weeks. That is exciting. So, Carmen, hola, ¿cómo estás? Muy bien, te amo. I have no idea if I said anything correct, but I think I said hello and I love you. I do know that I just learned mucho dinero for you, so we can help your members make more money with WOAMTEC. I'll keep working on it, I promise. I'll get better by the time your lunch comes. Anyways, the next guest that I'd like to introduce you to is a fabulous individual that is co-hosting and will be part of our show, joining us all the way from Maryland. And I was so excited when I saw her application come across our WOAMTEC desk and saw that Notre Dame is in the house today. That just made me so excited because she is adding a lot of value to a lot of women's lives in our Maryland chapter. And I hope you too connect with her via Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn through the WOAMTEC member directory. So now I'm going to introduce you to a magnificent individual that is going to continue talking about working with children, helping children at risk, empowering not only your lives but to the lives that you love and the people that are in your life. So please welcome Harriet Porton, all the way from Maryland, and a representative from Notre Dame. Give her a warm welcome. And Harriet, I'm turning it over to you, girlfriend. Thank you.